Out of nowhere, a massive mechanical arm plunges down and pumps something into Kong's system that no creature on Earth has ever received. It transforms him into something the world has never seen before. A King Kong so powerful, so unstoppable, that even the mightiest creatures underground don't stand a chance. But before we get to that moment, we need to go back to where it all begins, deep beneath the Earth's surface, in a world that most humans don't even know exists. And trust me, what happens in this world will leave your jaw on the floor. At the beginning of the movie, we are taken thousands of miles beneath the Earth's surface, and what we find there is nothing short of breathtaking. This isn't some dark, hollow cave. This is an entire living, breathing world with its own sky, its own oceans, its own ecosystem, and its own terrifying food chain. Massive creatures rule every corner of this place, from the skies above to the darkest depths of its ancient waters. And at the very top of that food chain, King Kong. We are introduced to Kong in the most casual way possible, walking toward a lake with a small monkey trailing behind him. On the surface, this looks peaceful, almost wholesome even. But something is very wrong here, and if you're paying attention, you can feel it. That small monkey, he's not Kong's friend. He's a traitor. Here's what's actually happening. This little monkey has been leading Kong directly into an ambush. Hidden beneath the surface of that lake is a massive predator, a giant dragon, and the monkey's plan is to provoke Kong into entering the water so the creature can finish him off. It's a calculated, cold-blooded setup. And for a moment, it looks like it might actually work. But Kong is not your average apex predator. Before he even sets foot near the water's edge, something changes in his posture. His nostrils flare. His eyes narrow. He catches a scent, not from the monkey, not from the lake, but from something lurking just beneath the surface. And instead of backing away, Kong does something that sends chills down your spine. He walks straight into the water anyway, not out of ignorance, out of confidence. While the little monkey nervously pretends to drink water from the shoreline, practically shaking with anxiety that his scheme is about to unravel, Kong is already in the lake, bathing calmly, completely in control. And then it happens. The water explodes. A colossal dragon launches itself out of the depths, jaws stretched wide enough to swallow a truck, charging straight at Kong with terrifying speed. The monkey sprints for shore, convinced his plan worked perfectly. He genuinely believes he's just watched Kong's final moments. He couldn't be more wrong. What follows is a brutal underwater clash, Kong's first real fight beneath the surface of this underground lake. He's in foreign territory here. This dragon owns these waters. It immediately drags Kong down into the deep, trying to use depth and darkness as weapons. But the thing about Kong that his enemies always underestimate is this: the angrier he gets, the more dangerous he becomes. Moments later, the little monkey is standing on the shore, already mentally celebrating, when something lands right in front of his feet with a thunderous crash. It's the dragon's severed head. The monkey freezes. Slowly, King Kong rises from the water, not out of breath, not panicking, completely calm, axe in hand. He looks at the monkey for a long moment. And then, instead of punishing him for the betrayal, Kong does something unexpected. He simply picks up his axe and signals the monkey to keep walking forward. Why? Because Kong has been completely alone in this world for thousands of years. And deep down, even a betrayal is better than total isolation. Now the movie gives us one of its most emotional sequences, and it sneaks up on you when you least expect it. We see King Kong's life in this underground world, not as the unstoppable ruler, but as a lonely creature just trying to survive day after day. He goes hungry regularly. Packs of enormous wolves constantly hunt him, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, relentlessly chasing him across the terrain. Most creatures would crumble under that kind of pressure. Kong doesn't crumble, but he does have to run. One particular chase pushes him to the edge of a deep gorge. Surrounded on all sides, no escape route in sight, he finally turns to face them. But here's where we see Kong's genius. This wasn't bad luck. This was a trap he set. As the wolves charge in, hidden mechanisms activate. Wolves fall into concealed pits lined with sharpened wooden spears. Massive boulders come rolling down from the mountainside, crushing everything in their path. One by one, the pack is decimated. A few survivors still refuse to retreat. So Kong grabs one of the fallen wolves, and with one demonstration of raw, terrifying power, tears it apart. The remaining wolves don't need a second warning. They vanish. But even standing victorious over a battlefield he designed himself, Kong looks miserable. Why? Because of a rotten tooth that's been torturing him for who knows how long. And this tiny, almost comedic detail leads to one of the most unexpectedly touching parts of the film. Before the tooth gets dealt with, Kong hears something. A roar echoing through a distant valley, a sound that stops him cold. It sounds exactly like one of his own kind. His entire posture changes. For the first time, we see something in Kong's eyes that looks almost like desperate hope. He runs toward the sound. And when he gets there, he finds a frog. A strange little frog sitting alone in the valley, making an eerie roar that somehow mimics the call of a giant ape. Kong just stares at it. Thousands of years of wandering. Thousands of years of silence. And all he found was a frog. The scene doesn't need music or dramatic narration to hit hard. It just does. Eventually, the tooth pain becomes too unbearable to ignore. Kong makes a decision he clearly doesn't want to make. He crosses into the human world. Now let's appreciate this for a second. King Kong, the apex predator of an entire underground civilization, willingly enters human territory because of a toothache. The movie knows this is funny. It leans into it. Kong collapses on a hillside and just waits. Scientists spot him immediately, and in a completely predictable human fashion, their first instinct is to pump him full of anesthesia, a massive dose, knocking him out completely before anyone even tries to figure out what he actually needs. Then they call in the city's most famous dentist, who takes one look into King Kong's enormous mouth and gets to work. A thick steel wire gets wrapped around the rotten tooth. A spacecraft is rigged as the pulling mechanism, and when it launches, that enormous rotten tooth comes flying out with a force that probably registered on seismographs. When Kong wakes up, there's a gleaming titanium replacement where the rotten tooth used to be. He runs his tongue along it, flexes his jaw, and something shifts in his expression, a surge of energy, of power, of pure satisfaction. He feels incredible, like a new Kong. But the celebration is short-lived. An emergency signal is screaming from inside his world, and everyone in that lab knows something has gone terribly wrong underground. Scientists assemble a rescue team instantly. They enter the portal with Kong and plunge downward into the earth. Back underground, Kong discovers his food stores have been raided. He grabs his axe, climbs to a cliff's edge, and spots something strange. A faint blue light pulsing from deep inside a crack in the rock. Kong doesn't hesitate. He jumps in. The darkness inside is total. But then something remarkable happens. His axe begins to glow on its own, illuminating the cave around him. Strange luminescent stones line the walls, reacting to the axe's light like a living organism. And then, from somewhere deep in the shadows, comes a roar. Kong follows it through a hidden waterfall, into a completely new section of this underground world, a place even he has never discovered. Moving carefully through this environment, he catches a smell that pulls him forward. Then a massive shadow rises up in front of him, enormous and threatening, and Kong immediately raises his axe and braces for a fight. The shadow gets closer, and closer, and then, it gets smaller. Because it isn't a monster at all. It's a tiny yellow-furred monkey, small, wide-eyed, absolutely terrified, and the shadow is just a trick of the light. Kong stares at this creature. This tiny, ridiculous little monkey that nearly sent him into full battle mode. And then something beautiful happens. For the first time in thousands of years, Kong is looking at something that resembles himself. He lowers the axe slowly. He kneels down. He extends his hand. And the monkey bites him. Kong yelps, pulls back. The monkey bolts. And so begins one of the most entertaining chase sequences in the film. King Kong, the most powerful creature in this underground world, sprinting after one tiny monkey who is absolutely terrified of him. But then the chase comes to an abrupt halt when a new shadow falls over Kong. He turns around and comes face to face with something he has genuinely never encountered before. A bald gorilla. His size. His build. Looking directly at him. Before Kong can even process this, two long-armed gorillas drop from above and slam him into the ground. The bald gorilla watches with a smug grin that makes it crystal clear this was planned. This is a welcoming committee, and they are not welcoming him. Kong decides the diplomatic approach isn't going to work here. He grabs a rock and throws it. What follows is a brawl that Kong dismantles almost effortlessly, at one point using the little monkey himself as a weapon, swinging him around to knock the other gorillas down. Even with Kong's own axe in hand, the bald gorilla can't do anything meaningful before he ends up flat on his back. They scatter. The bald gorilla flees, muttering to himself. Kong retrieves his axe, grabs the hiding monkey out of a nearby tree, drops him on the ground, and makes himself very clear. You're going to show me where these gorillas came from. As the monkey leads Kong deeper into the underground territory, the movie begins to reveal the true scale of what's happening here. This isn't just a rogue group of gorillas picking fights. There's a whole operation, a kingdom built on cruelty and fear. Kong finally reaches the heart of it, and what he sees breaks something inside him. There are creatures like him, his own kind, being worked to exhaustion, forced to carry out brutal labor with no rest, no freedom, and no mercy. Guards patrol their every move. One elderly monkey stumbles and drops a stone, and within seconds, a guard is beating him savagely. Kong doesn't calculate. He doesn't weigh his options. He plants his axe in the ground and steps in. The guard rushes him, furious at the intrusion. But Kong's defiance sends a visible ripple through the enslaved monkeys around them. For the first time in who knows how long, someone pushed back. That moment of hope is interrupted by the arrival of Scar King. Every single creature in this underground kingdom bows when Scar King walks through. Every creature except Kong. Scar King approaches, looks Kong up and down, notices the titanium tooth gleaming in his jaw, and laughs. It's a mocking, contemptuous laugh. Then, just to remind everyone in the room who holds power here, he kicks one of the enslaved monkeys directly into a pool of glowing lava. A casual, calculated act of dominance. Kong's fury reaches its boiling point. Scar King produces his weapon, a long, crystal-tipped instrument, and what follows is the most intense fight we've seen yet. Scar King is clever. He knows he can't match Kong's raw strength, so he keeps distance, using the reach of his weapon and the power of the crystal to land blow after blow while staying out of Kong's grasp. Kong gets pushed back. His axe is knocked away, and then Scar King wraps his weapon around Kong's neck, trying to choke him into submission. Big mistake. Kong reaches deep, finds a reserve of strength that should be physically impossible, and launches Scar King off him, slamming him hard into the ground and pinning him down with both hands. And right there, Scar King decides to reveal his ace in the hole. The crystal on his weapon begins glowing intensely. Gorillas drop massive boulders to redirect lava flow. The temperature in the cave shifts dramatically, and from deep inside a cavern, a pair of eyes open. Titan Shimo. This creature is ancient beyond comprehension. It once covered the entire world in ice. And now it's being kept here as Scar King's personal weapon, controlled through the crystal. Shimo clearly hates this arrangement. When Scar King gives the order to attack Kong, Shimo hesitates, visibly in pain, visibly unwilling. But the crystal's control is absolute. Shimo attacks, and Kong, already exhausted from the fight with Scar King, cannot keep up. Ice begins creeping up his hands. His right arm takes the worst of it, a shattering blow that leaves it badly damaged. He's deteriorating fast. The little monkey spots a tunnel. He catches Kong's eye and signals desperately, "Run." Kong runs. The chase that follows is brutal. Hundreds of gorillas flood into the tunnels after Kong. He triggers trap after trap, mechanisms he had set throughout this jungle over the years, and body after body gets buried under falling rock and debris. But the gorillas are too many, and they're learning. They start spotting his traps before they spring. Kong gets cornered at a dead end. His last trap sits ahead of him, but the gorillas see the trigger vine on the ground. They're not falling for it. This is it, the movie tells us. Kong is done, and then the trap activates anyway. Hundreds of tons of rock come crashing down, not because Kong triggered it, but because the little monkey did. That same monkey who bit him, who tried to have him eaten by a dragon, who led him into hostile territory, reached the trap first and set it off himself. The gorillas are buried. Kong stares at the monkey for a long moment, barely able to stand. Then, leaning on the tiny creature for support, he begins the long journey back to the humans. When Kong finally reaches the scientists, they take one look at his arm and understand immediately. This isn't something medicine can fix. The arm has to go. In its place, they install something that was built specifically for Kong. A super mechanical arm, engineered to make him exponentially more powerful than he already is. The arm locks into place. The medicine inside it floods his system, and Kong's eyes open with an expression that says everything. He is something new now. But there's no time to celebrate. The little monkey comes sprinting out of the jungle with news that makes everyone's blood run cold. Scar King has found the portal, the one that leads directly to the human world. And he's coming with Shimo. Kong can't face both of them alone. He knows it. There's only one being on this planet powerful enough to help turn this fight around. Godzilla. The portal drops Kong into the human world near a massive pyramid structure. The ground shakes with every step he takes. Somewhere nearby, Godzilla has been sleeping, and Kong's arrival wakes him up immediately. Now here's the thing about Godzilla. He doesn't ask questions. He doesn't wait for explanations. When he senses Kong's presence, he interprets it the exact same way he always does, as a challenge. And he charges. Kong raises his hand, trying to signal peace. Godzilla hits him so hard, he flies hundreds of meters across the landscape. Kong tries a different approach, attacking from behind, hoping to slow Godzilla down enough to communicate. Instead, he accidentally gets sand in Godzilla's eyes, which somehow makes everything worse. Godzilla grabs Kong's arm in his jaws and slams him into the ground like he weighs nothing. At this point, Kong has been in 2 massive fights today, and his patience is completely gone. So he fights back. And with the mechanical arm, he holds his own, genuinely surprises Godzilla. But he can't win this. He knows that. Winning isn't the goal. So Kong does the only thing that makes sense. He grabs Godzilla and physically drags him toward the portal, forcing him through. The moment Godzilla lands underground and his eyes fall on Shimo and Scar King, something changes. The pieces click. He understands exactly why Kong came to get him. The two of them square up side by side. The battle that follows is total, spectacular chaos. Underground, the tribal people, a civilization that has lived below the earth for thousands of years, protecting the very portal Scar King is after. Activate an ancient anti-gravity system. Two giant pyramids begin drawing together, and when they connect, gravity will cease to exist in the entire area, making movement nearly impossible. Scar King gets hold of Kong's axe and turns it against him. Kong uses the mechanical arm to block every blow. Gradually, the momentum shifts. Kong begins to overpower him, but attacks from behind start taking their toll. The little monkey jumps in, hurling rocks to cover Kong's flanks. On the other side, Shimo launches a full ice assault on Godzilla, and for a terrifying moment, completely encases him in a frozen shell. The entire battlefield goes quiet. Then Godzilla explodes out of it in a single movement. Gravity returns. Scar King slips Kong's grip and dives straight into the portal, escaping to the human world. Godzilla and Kong jump after him. But in the chaos, Kong's axe stays behind. On the surface, everything freezes in seconds. The ocean waves crystallize into walls of ice. Buildings crack and crumble under sheets of frost. Scar King and Shimo arrive on the surface, and Scar King looks up at the open sky and the human world stretching before him with pure, unhinged joy. He orders Shimo to freeze everything. Shimo complies, but not willingly. Kong arrives and lands a punch that sends Scar King's titanium tooth spinning across the pavement. Godzilla intercepts Shimo. Without his crystal to control the battlefield, Scar King starts improvising, hurling buildings, trying to create distance, trying to find any edge. And then Shimo turns on Kong, starts freezing the mechanical arm, and for a moment, it looks like history is repeating itself. Then the little monkey, who somehow made it to the surface, spots Kong's axe lying on the ground. He picks it up, locks eyes with that fallen crystal controlling Shimo, and swings. The crystal shatters. Shimo stops, turns. For the first time in this entire movie, Shimo is free. Truly free. Scar King sees it happening and lunges for the monkey. But Kong steps in front of him, and in a fury of blows, beats Scar King into the ground. Weakened and exposed, Scar King looks up at Shimo. And Shimo, freed from thousands of years of forced servitude, does exactly what he's always wanted to do. He turns Scar King into a solid block of ice. Kong grabs that frozen statue, lifts it into the air, and brings it down with everything he has left. Scar King shatters. In the aftermath of the battle, Kong finally settles over a world that hasn't known peace in a very long time. Godzilla, satisfied, returns to his territory and sinks back into his deep, ancient sleep. The tribal people below the earth continue guarding their portal, knowing the threat that nearly tore everything apart has been permanently erased. And Kong goes home, back underground, back to his world. But this time, he isn't walking alone. That tiny yellow monkey, the one who betrayed him, bit him, tried to get him eaten by a dragon, and then saved his life when it counted most, walks beside him. And somehow, in the most unlikely way possible, Kong found what he had been searching for across thousands of years of solitude. Not a battle, not a throne, just someone to walk forward with. And that, right there, is where the movie ends. And honestly, if you made it this far without subscribing to this channel, I genuinely don't know what we're doing here. We just walked through an entire underground war together. We survived Scar King, Shimo, a rogue pack of wolves, an ambush dragon, and Godzilla in a bad mood. The least you can do is hit that subscribe button. It literally costs you nothing, and it means everything to this channel. And before you go, I need to know something. Drop it in the comments right now. Who was your favorite character in this movie? Was it Kong finding his first real companion? Was it the little monkey's unexpected redemption arc? Or were you secretly rooting for Shimo the whole time, just waiting for him to finally break free? Let me know below, and we'll see you in the next one.